Feels like home, baby. Feel right at home over here, Maktaba Bookshop, you know what I mean? Get yourself a nice tea, get yourself some knowledge at the same time, and get yourself some game from my boy Narcy, you know what I mean? No,
Yeah.
but that's dope. But this is all part of like introducing people, and you know what? Also, making people comfortable. A lot
Yeah.
of people get shook
Yeah.
when they don't know.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Here they come, they see it's a chill guy, chill lady behind the counter, and it's like you realize it's all love. Arab culture is love.
Yeah, you know, like for us, a big part of it was an art project. Like I remember Sindus did a show called "Take Care of Yourself" on the plateau, and we had a few interactions with people because it was indigenous, Arab, and brown artists' work being exhibited. So she had a couple of interactions that were mad racist, like, but it was very minimal compared to the positive interactions that we had. So when approaching the design of this place, we wanted it to be an art project, to feel like an art project. So the books keep the place going, and the community keeps the place going. But as long as the space is needed, it'll be around. As soon as we feel like it's not needed anymore, you know, we don't want to force it. It's culture over commerce. Like
Exactly. It's like it's not even about the commerce. It's more about the culture. That's what I think is dope.
Yeah.
And you said that's your wife's idea?
Yeah, this is an extension of her art practice. Like she always loved books. We both got published during the pandemic. You know,
Congrats.
education has. Thank you, bro. Education was always central to our practice. You know what it is. So how do we go full circle from where we started in the city to planting roots in the city that makes sense attached to our artistic practice? So yeah, this is her vision, and then my extension of it is like all the merch drops that I do through here, all the collaborations with artists that come through here. That's my job.
So how long has it been here? The place? How long?
Next month it'll be a year,
A year.
June 17th.
And how is it? Like after a year, for the first year of business? Because like you said, it's not only about commerce, but I mean, you still have to keep
Still
the
gotta
lights
run a
on.
business, yeah. It's a lot of work, bro. Like it took over our lives.
Is it what you expected it to be?
Yeah, but alhamdulillah, like more joyful than I expected it to be. Because I was worried about the admin end of it. But once we got in a flow of things, and you know, the winter slows things down a bit, which is great actually, because usually the winters I spent recording.
Yeah.
Right? It's like your creative process kind of has to grow, or you get writer's block and you get stuck. Whereas a place like this allowed me to gestate a bit, like outside of my house, and think about what we want to do in the spring and the summer. So alhamdulillah, year one there were challenges, but I couldn't ask for a better year one, you know what I mean? So next year we're hoping to not expand internally, but expand externally to bring more attention to this space.
Okay, I heard you mention pop-ups. So what do we talk when we talk pop-ups? It's like a weekend thing. Like if there's a festival somewhere else, you guys will pop up, bring books, bring merch. How does that work?
Yeah. So with my artistic practice, with my music, one of the main vehicles that has helped me like sustain my career was the pop-up concept. I always did merch pop-ups, like limited drops. Whatever city I went to, I would place my merch in a store. Or
It feels like this is kind of coming back.
yeah,
being
but it's
trendy.
not. It's like a permanent pop-up. You know, this place.
Yeah, this place. Yeah. But
So
I mean the
yeah.
general idea of pop-up,
Yeah, it's
limited
picking up.
merch and stuff. Yeah.
And merch, you know how it is. Like vinyl went crazy. Books sell very well, and then merchandise. If you do a limited thing, I learned a lot from Nipsey and like watching his model and how he moves. I think like that was a main inspiration.
100% with his $100 mixtape back in the days.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So yeah, I want to pop this up in different cities, because then it's at the end of the day you can secure different forms of funding from those cities within festivals or at museums or whatever it might be. Like take this into as a practice, and the kind of flow of people that you get in dictates the language of the city. Like, and not language as in what we speak, but like what the vibe of the city is.
100%.
So in every month in this store, you feel like, oh shit, there's more Americans this month. There's more people from Europe this month. There's more people from the city that are out in the streets, you know?
And how's the general reaction when people, because we're in Old Port, in Old Montreal, you know what I mean? It's a very touristy kind of area. But then if people come in the bookstore, they'll probably be pleasantly surprised with like the amount of culture you get, and especially it's not typical Canadian or Quebecois where like a lot of the stores are here.
Yeah.
So like, what's the type of reactions you get when people walk in Maktaba?
It's been amazing. You know, right across there on the water, all the big cruise lines come in and park. So you
Yeah.
have a lot of cruises that come in.
Wow.
And one of the best experiences that I've had in here is like these elderly American couples that come and buy a Naguib Mahfouz book or like a, Mahmoud Darwish book or Edward Said book, and they leave with like something that they're really interested in finding out. Like the relationship between their country and our culture has been so contentious.
This is why
But they're so open to it. So that's been beautiful, bro. And like, it's been nothing but positivity. I think just because our mission is not like buy. So people come in and watch and leave. So it's been a good vibe, bro.
If somebody walks in here, like somebody who doesn't know much about the culture and he's like, hey, I want to learn. Like, do you have any kind of books that you would
like
recommend?
go-to books?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. I can run you through them later, but like we have on the wall, the collection that Sunda's curated mostly is like books that we've read that have affected our life and that we have in our library at home.
Okay,
And
nice.
then from there we expand from those authors. But definitely like Edward Said has his own section, you know what I mean? Naguib Mahfouz has his own section. Octavia Butler has her own section. Bell Hooks has her own section. So like these formative books, you know?
But this is what I feel.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Maktaba, how can I help you?
Well, like you just got a call right now and people are asking for specific books and stuff. So you're kind of becoming a go-to when it comes to this genre, right?
Yeah, we have a very like curated list of books. And it's all online.
Okay.
But one of the missions here was like not, when you go to an Indigo or you go to a big bookstore chain, our books by our people are hidden. Like they're not
In
at the
corner,
forefront.
yeah, exactly.
So we really wanted to focus on Black, Brown, Indigenous writers, from ethnic backgrounds or stories from those countries that are rarely seen at the forefront, right?
Rarely promoted.
So people come here for that. So like when stuff started popping off in Iran, we hit up a few Iranian organizations run by women here that we knew, and they told us what books to stock around the community so
Wow.
people would learn about. So that's our
That's the
our
MO.
way of like infusing story. Like go educate yourself about it instead of just having talking points.
But
Here's some books that you can read.
Still staying current in what's happening
Yeah,
in the world
absolutely,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
And that's something I noticed. I was telling Owens when I was walking around looking at the books, even the records. It's like a good selection. And I was telling him it's curated. We could tell it's curated by like their taste or whatever it is. And I feel like that's what makes it special. And I'm sure like people come back for that, right? Because you read one and then you want to come back read another. It's crazy.
I mean, what's the way to convey like when we would hear Feiruz at the house and then listen to Soul Assassins when we leave the house and get on the bus on
Exactly.
the only way to convey it is to have them side by side
100%.
for people to have that option,
This is why I came in here. As soon as I came in, I saw the Aleppo cooking book. It reminds me of my mom. It's like, see the Soul Assassins reminds me of that story I told you. So it's crazy to see, man. And it's dope because, like we're going to talk about you being a professor and everything. But even bigger than that, throughout everything you do, it seems like hip hop plays an important part.
Absolutely, bro.
It's like whether you're teaching, whether you're here at the bookstore, whether, of course, doing music and representing worldwide. Tell me, like now it's the 50 years of hip hop. What does it mean to you? And how would you explain hip hop to somebody who doesn't even know what it is, especially if you go to the Middle East and they're like, what do you do? What is this exactly? You know what I mean?
Well, look, man, I turned 40 this year. So
God
hip hop
bless.
turned 50. I mean, hip hop's older than 50, but like officially it's 50 years old,
Yeah.
right? And hip hop came to me when I was 12, which means that, I was there right after the first decade of the culture being born. And it's been such a formative force in my life. It's helped me through the hardest times in my life. It's helped me find my voice. It's helped me culture jam all these cultures that I'm a part of and create a visual of it.
Crazy.
It's helped people like me and you connect. Even though me and you could have met and you could be like, I'm Lebanese, I'm Syrian, I'm Iraqi, and we could have had that conversation. Hip hop actually is the thing that bridged us.
Absolutely.
And then our mother cultures came in within
Absolutely.
that, right?
And
So-
it kind of speeds it up. The
Yeah,
hip hop makes it even easier to connect. Yeah.
And you develop like empathy for the world, bro. You understand what people have been through. Like,
Big time.
You understand what, it forces you to understand what the black community went through in America and how the history and lineage of Africa and world history is really the root of all our histories. And me being Sumerian, Iraqi, like just knowing these like les croisières entre les civilisations, like that's what hip hop made me go research, bro.
100%.
School didn't make me do that.
100%. It makes you learn of people's struggles and realities that you might not be aware of.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll be like, okay, but my people back home are going through something similar to what we see there, obviously on different levels, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
to
hip
see
hop
the
is our consciousness, bro.
100%.
Whereas Islam is like my spirit and my like science of life, hip hop is my consciousness, bro. Yeah.
I respect that. Yeah. Now, I mentioned the fact you're a professor, still going. How long you been a professor now at Concordia?
It's my 10th year, man.
10 years.
I'm platinum.
That's legendary, bro. Like, I think you're the only rapper from here, anyways, that did that transition and is doing it well. And, like, the classes. Break me down the classes. I know there was a hip-hop class.
Yeah.
Then there was the Kanye class.
Yeah.
The Kendrick class.
Yeah. So I used to do 2 classes. One was It's Bigger Than Hip Hop.
Yeah.
And the other one was Beats, Rhymes, and Life. So Beats, Rhymes, and Life was a creative class, how to find your creative force. And then It's Bigger Than Hip Hop was about like social science, political science, the history of why hip hop exists and how that relates to communities of color.
Crazy.
And I did that for 8 years. And then when the pandemic, when we went back to in-person teaching, I did the Kanye class. And I knew like I'm gonna only teach this once. Like I have the model of the class and I can go teach it elsewhere or whatever, but I knew I wanted to offer these classes once so that the experience of being in these classes it's something you go tell your friends about. It's not something you can tell somebody to go do.
No, 100%. But it's crazy because the timing of it, I mean, when we did our first interview, everybody go check that out. We announced that you were going to do that class. And then the timing of everything and Kanye was all over the media going crazy. Did that make your class easier or harder to teach?
I mean, both really. It kind of, the class I had designed was like college dropout, into late registration, into his mother's death, into public like fame and becoming so influential in fashion and art, and how that public persona can be very difficult to navigate on planet Earth. And then on top of it, all the like mental health and then the creative arts became the ending of like there was a period in the class where I wasn't dealing with Kanye as a musician. I was dealing with Kanye as a public figure, right? And then we went back to the art. But like as soon as I got to, we had a class called You Ain't Got the Answers. So we watched all
from all the interview.
Yeah, we watched all the public stuff that he's done, from the George Bush stuff to that TMZ and then he started rolling out the new rollout, the Nazi rollout that he had, right? So that was like a perfect way to real time be like, okay, what are we dealing with right now? What are the issues that are coming up right now that we need to deal with? So the anti-Semitism, the being black in America, being white in America, power and fame and what that does to your mental health and the arts industry, like all that stuff just started. So my class changed, like his albums change.
That's interesting. But isn't that difficult? Like, because Concordia has a history of, there's been protests, pro-Palestine, pro-Israel and that stuff. And then that class is being taught out there. Kanye's wilding with what he's saying. Yeah. Does that make it more difficult, or does it make it a point of more understanding can be
There was definitely like a challenging point at that class where I got challenged by people who weren't in my class that came to my class to challenge me.
Okay, specifically for that.
Yeah, and I dealt with it. Like I've been, I was there when the protests were happening 20 years ago. So like, it's nothing new. And I'm a political science graduate. Like I studied this shit. So like, I'm not dumb. It's not just talking points for me. Yeah. I'm not a TikToker around Palestine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So I was able to, and it wasn't even about Palestine. It was about this guy and his relationship to industry models.
No, exactly.
Right? But people came to me with it. And the university had my back, which is the most important thing. Like they know. The main thing I relayed to my students was this is a safe space. We can have whatever discussion we need to have with any community, and my political perspective is my perspective. That doesn't mean you have to agree with me or not. And Kanye we're not responsible for Kanye. Kanye is responsible for himself. What we're responsible for is us in this room and being able to get to conclusions where everybody feels safe, including Jewish students and black students.
100%.
Right? And we got there because that's what hip hop is, bro. I mean, when I'm in a room with you, and we could be in a room with a Zionist rapper and not know, but he's in the room because of hip hop, and
100%.
like, there's a certain like, okay, we can have a conversation, but there's red lines for everybody.
Exactly, right? But at least we can agree
to do
on
that.
this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when that news broke, I saw it made news like all over the world, almost with like there's a Kanye class and everything like that. How do you like?
I've been dropping them class mixtapes.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Like you got the whole world talking about your class. Do those echoes go all the way to like Kanye? Do you even
I
know?
reached him for sure. Yeah.
Really? And do you know that for sure, or is that?
I know
just
that for
you?
sure. No, yeah.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope.
I mean, the goal was to get Kanye to zoom in, but it kind of, the person that I was in touch with from the team left the team.
Okay.
Right before all the shit went down, knew it was coming. So I lost my ability to like be in the circle and invite him. But I also, at that point, I don't think it was a good idea to invite him. Because
maybe it wasn't the best time for him either,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the media hit me up and were like, "You're the resident Kanye expert. What do you think of it?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm not a Kanye expert. I'm a fan who is a fan of art and creativity, and I'm covering this class. But in no way am I as an Arab artist and professor going to take this opportunity to drag a black man in public and use your." What you need for your platform.
So important, man.
And I'm not, no comment. Like that was mainly, most of the press that came at the top of class was positive. And the funny thing is like TMZ hit me up and they were asking me to give a negative angle to the class so they would cover it. And I was like, I'm not giving you, my class is about Kanye and his art. Like, fuck off. If it's not enough for you, I'm not willing to say Pete Davidson is gonna.
No, exactly.
Like,
but that's why it's important for people like you to be behind these kind of things, because people of integrity that won't kind of bend under that pressure, right?
Yeah.
Because with all that hype, a lot of people would say, oh, if I say this, it's going to bring a hype to my class, to my page, to my IG, whatever it is. And I feel like the integrity, especially like the same way you do it with your art in the classes, is super important, man.
Yeah, it's a responsibility, bro.
100%.
Teaching is not a joke. Like, sure, I'm getting all this press. At the end of the day, the press will feed into the university more than it will me as a professor. But also, my responsibility is my students. It's not a branding exercise for me to do these classes more than it's like, oh, look, you can do a class about Dave Chappelle and Dave's community and the things that he said in public and the things that he's created for us as a template, and have a discussion about it and then be critical. And we'd have to fight about it. It's not a Twitter feed.
No, exactly. And it's not even I'm taking position on this or that. I'm just there
to talking
about it.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
dope.
Give 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I help you, brother?
Yeah,
It's not very difficult to reach anybody. That's what I've realized.
But I figured with this kind of stuff, it's so out of the box. Like, people holler at him for featurings, for this, for that, but he probably doesn't hear about a class about him.
Yeah.
Especially in another country, and in Canada and Quebec, you know what I mean? So
I think a lot of, it's funny, we live in an era where people view, because I'm an artist, I think people view some of what I do as like clout chasing. I've gotten that
you
comment.
Get that?
And I'm like, guys, like I'm not trying to get a verse from, and I'm not trying to get on TDE or PG Lang. Like, I'm really like, I love the art, So
I'm surprised people actually think that.
Yeah, people always, of course, bro. But they're young. They don't.
Okay, yeah.
They're in their 20s. That's all they see is clout and the ops or whatever.
And they don't know your history.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like, what I do is I hit up the team. I find a way to hit up the team, and for the announcement of the syllabuses, I collaborated with a guy. I was like, I'm not going to go to general press because the press are going to hit me. But I went with a independent, like Instagram guy called A Plastic Plant.
Okay.
And I just announced my syllabuses through him because we just started building, and he was like, I really want to see the Kanye one, so I shared it with him, and he shared it online. And then I was like, listen, I'm going to put the Kendrick one out through you as well. And he did that, and then people from PG Lang saw it.
Crazy.
And I got in touch with them, but they said they were too busy to come to class. Again, I think not having the artist come you know, having somebody like Kendrick talk to my students would be fucking incredible.
For sure.
But it can't be. It's almost too meta. Like if you involve them too much in the class, it loses its meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe it becomes less objective because you have him involved.
I'd like to have him at the end of the semester. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That would be amazing.
That makes sense. And now we got the Chapelle class.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. So why choose Dave Chapelle? Because I know you're kind of
I'm in the
extended family, in the circle. How does that work? Like, do you even consult him before? Do you decide to do it, present it to him?
Yeah, so with Kendrick and Kanye, it was really like about one artist in their world.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned from Kweli and Mos and everybody is like when I would be at their shows, their parents would be there or their family would be there. And then when I met Dave and he introduced me to his family and then the artistic community, I realized like this is why I learned from them because it feels like home.
Yeah.
Like the community is so much more than just Dave. It's the Roots, it's Erica, it's Yassine, it's Kweli, it's the list and then Cypher Sounds and Cardinal and everybody, right? So there's like a team Chapelle. And because it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop, I wanted to do somebody that represents that community building aspect.
100%.
And be able to like, we'll do a week on the Roots. We'll do a week on Canadian hip hop and where Dave sits within it. We'll do a week on the Chappelle show.
Wow.
We'll do, you know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
So yeah, it's so much bigger and broader than just one artist. And he's like the nucleus of it, you know.
100%. That's dope, and it gives you a lot of options to where you go with the classes.
Yeah.
And I know the Kanye and the Kendrick were like a hot ticket. The class was a hot ticket. Is the Chapelle class also?
It's already full. Yeah.
It's already full.
Yeah. They get
Sold
full
out.
before you even announce what it's
You
about.
really are platinum when it comes to this teaching stuff.
Listen,
man.
if I could move records like I could move classes, I'd be rich right now.
Hey, at the end of the day, you're moving the culture.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
moving the needle, and I think
Alhamdulillah.
that's what's the most important.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
Now we're talking about the book, we're talking about the classes and everything. What's up with the music? Because a lot of people know you for the music. Are you still working on some music? What's coming up for the people that don't know?
Yeah, I just wrapped the mixes on my album, the one that I was working on when I first came to see you guys.
Okay, yeah.
So I finally got all my mixes in the bag. I'm about to start sequencing this month. And I'm, because I have this bookshop and I'm so into the arts, I'm presenting like a narrative world around the project, which I kind of want to put the album out as a book.
Okay, nice.
And the album be in the book.
Wow.
With the lyrics and the art. Like that piece is made by an artist, a Syrian Kurdish artist based out of Edmonton.
Nice.
And he did interpretations of my songs as paintings.
Wow.
So I'm collaborating with a bunch of visual artists right now to create content around the project.
That's crazy, but you see stuff like that. You tell me if I would move records like I move classes, but you got artists making individual pieces for your songs. Like that means something. That means you're touching the people. Yeah. And it's like, those are the kind of things I feel that are priceless that last a lot longer
Inshallah,
than
bro.
a platinum record.
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to present this album differently than I've done before. And I'm over the whole like online numbers, playlist. Like that's a part of it, but I don't just want to do that.
Make the music and put it out there.
Yeah, I want it to be an experience, bro. So if you come to my bookshop, you can get my album here. But then if I move, I can also do shows at museums now. I could do shows in different spaces and introduce hip-hop culture in spaces where hip-hop wouldn't be invited.
100%.
That's
100%.
that's the ultimate goal. Like,
do we have a name for the project?
I have two titles right now.
Okay, we're still not decided on it?
I think it's gonna be the Rockefeller album, but it's gonna be within this idea of There Will Be No More Messengers, which is the name of the art show that the album is in.
Huh.
And the album has there's a DJ, her name's Nuria.
Okay.
And she plays this AI therapy bot that I use on the record to run me through my life and my emotions to structure them as AI produced songs, but they're really my songs. So she's the main theme on the record. Like she holds the album together.
Interesting.
And she like lets me navigate my issues and my family and our immigration and all that stuff through the record. Yeah.
That's fire.
So I don't have a title yet.
Okay, we're looking forward to it. We're going to be connected, obviously.
Yeah.
And like, for people who don't know, like you've been making moves not only in Montreal, in Canada, but all over the world. And you're considered like a OG in this game to a lot of artists, especially Arab artists from back home. I heard you mention you're kind of helping out
MCA, yeah.
MCA back in Palestine.
Yeah.
So a kid that went viral, dropping freestyles and stuff like that live from there.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be viewed as an OG from a youngin' like that?
It's great, man. I mean, he's 14, bro. And I feel like when we were kids, when we were in our 20s and we were navigating the war on terror or like 9/11 and all the stuff that came around when we started creating, nobody was there for us. It was very isolating, right? And even within industry, it's very isolating. Even if there's Arabs within the industry, like as young artists, it's already scary being an artist and putting your voice out there. So to have to navigate these two worlds of politics and industry, we had nobody to lean on, right? So I took on the role of mentorship like years ago with young artists, and like no money exchange. No, I don't want anything out of you. I just want to like share whatever I have and hear where you're at, and it keeps me connected with like with what's happening.
100%.
You know, and like man, each one reach one, bro.
100%.
You know
That's what it's
mean?
all about, bro. That's hip hop at its base, and it's crazy because the same way we're talking about young artists back there or here, I've bumped into young students that told me, "Oh, you know Narcy? He's my professor. Oh my God, I took his class." And I told you
Bro,
this.
I can't go anywhere without that happening.
But it's fire, and I feel like you're breaking new ground and you're opening doors for artists that might not know what the next step is for them. Let's say after they do music or whatnot. You know what I mean? Not everybody can go into podcasting and that kind of vibe. We gotta each find our lane, right? So it's dope what you do, man. Like so, for the people watching, give us a last word where they could look out for all your stuff, and you know what I mean. Tell them about the bookshop.
Yo, shout out my brothers Owens and Jay. You can come see me at Maktaba Bookshop. That's maktaba.bookshop on IG, maktaba.online on the internet. And yeah, man, check me out. Narcy, I'm all over the place. I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Let's get it. You already know how we doing it, man. Your boy J7 signing off on location, on the spot, Maktaba Bookshop. This is what we do, man. It's all about the culture, baby.